As always, we're going to keep in accordance with the agenda. I just want to remind everyone this meeting is being recorded. No need to say anything beyond that. And so with that, I'm done the welcome. I will ask that each chair that has an opportunity to speak upon that time, would you introduce yourself at that time and the vice chair of the committee? May I have an approval for tonight's agenda? Betty, second, Mr. Jordan. Is there any objection or anyone who is opposed to the or like to abstain from tonight's vote? Thank you. Unanimous. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes on December 2020? Were there any corrections, any edits? Barbara?
I submitted some edits to the office.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, great. Actually, entertain a motion to approve the minutes with noted corrections. Mr. Jordan, I'm sorry, yeah, Mr. Gordon, second, Ms. Fibush. Anybody who is opposed or wants to abstain? Good, unanimous. Chairperson's report. So, a couple of things I wanted to mention. One, we are in the midst of reviewing the budget with OMB, and what we had to do was for fiscal year 2021, we had to give back a portion of some funding from our budget as per the mayor's directive to address some of the financial shortfalls that the city is facing at this time. And then additionally, we had to do the same for fiscal year 2022. There wasn't much in the way of discussion that was needed for the fiscal 2021 numbers. We largely just made a recommendation, made the adjustments, and was able to give some funding back for 2021. For 2022, fiscal year 2022, a little bit more challenging in the sense that we needed to understand what are the ramifications financially of the departure of the district manager, and then trying to figure out what is owed to the manager from a leave perspective. And then we had to go back with OMB because there were some things that I needed clarification on that required some other assistance from Borough Hall. So wasn't much discussion there. We're still kind of reviewing that process, but suffice to say that there will be a reduction in our budget for 2021 and 2022, to help the city get through the shortfall. And then lastly, the OMB and Borough Hall is working very closely. I'm working very, very closely with them to position ourselves to a point where we can proceed with actually posting for a new district manager and for more changes there. So more to come on that front. So just more stay tuned for that. At that point, there's nothing else I need to add at this point. And then let me excuse myself for 1 second, okay?
Hi, everyone who has joined us in the meantime. Welcome. Good evening.
Hi. Good evening.
Hi, Carol Ann. Tay and Carol Ann, I have a new minutes formatting question for you in the meantime. I'm just going to send y'all a quick note, okay?
No problem.
I'm sorry about that. I needed to just step away for 1 second. So more to come with my conversations with OMB and Borough Hall. They've been very helpful thus far. As you can imagine, there's a lot of activity going on there, so we need to make sure that we get the right process there before we move forward with posting for the job vacancy. What I will update you on is that the Finance and Personnel Committee is abreast and aware of the activities that need to take place. And then for those of you who are intimately familiar with the bylaws, at the right moment in time, we will definitely adhere to the bylaws and put together the right committee that is that will make us compliant and begin the process. The last thing I'm going to mention too is that I've heard several questions with individuals throughout just the board about what is the plan for the office going forward. I think I've repeated this enough, but maybe it bears repeating one more time. From my perspective as chair, the office is working fine. And so there's no degradation. Matter of fact, I would say that if anything, given the collaboration of all of the people in the office, the office is probably just as efficient, if not in some ways, and I don't mean this to be derogatory of the past, but probably more efficient now than it's ever been, largely because of the technology that we're able to take advantage of, the way Carol Ann, Taya, and Gustavo are collaborating in an efficient manner. And then just overall, it works, right? You have a full staffed office now, which for a long time was a challenge for the community board. And so given technology, it allows for more people to participate and engage in different ways. And I think all of those are areas that have added to the success of the office. And like I said, I haven't seen any degradation, and I hope you all feel the same, but the office seems to be moving along well. So with that, that concludes my chairperson's report. I'm not sure if anybody has any questions, but given what I said, if you do, I'll pause to answer questions from board members. Great. We're up to committees for action. Number 6, Health, Environment, and Social Services Committee. Mr. Smith.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Singletary. I'm Brendan Smith. I'm the chair of the Health, Environment, and Social Services Committee. Jessica, do you want to introduce yourself too?
Hi, I'm Jessica Thurston, secretary of the committee.
Great. And Jessica is both the secretary of this committee as well as the secretary of the Health Committee, so she's aware of our topics as well, in addition to this committee. I have 3 liquor licenses to go through tonight. Happy to take any questions. Out of the 3, we did have community concerns for 1 out of the 3. So, just note that in your mind, and we disapproved that one. So that will be interesting to discuss. That'll be the second one that I mentioned. The first one I'll go through is 63 Lafayette Avenue per the agenda. It's called Matshu LLC DBA 63. This is located at 63 Lafayette Avenue, which is between South Elliott Place and Fort Greene Place, out right across from where the plaza, from where Brooklyn Plaza Medical Center is, if you're familiar with that area. This is going to be an Italian restaurant with pizzas and specialty dishes. Their hours are 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. every day. It appears to be pretty comparable with the area. It's a rather mixed-use block kind of area where you have commercial businesses on the first floor and residential tenants on the second and third floor of most buildings. They indicated that they're going to hire locally. They're going to hire 15 to 20 employees. They're going to have an on-site operator, and they like to open similar restaurants with a similar plan. There's nobody upstairs in the building right now, but they spoke to neighbors, and the neighbors were very anxious to hear when they were going to open. So all in all, it was a very pleasant discussion, and we approved this this liquor license by a margin of 8-0-0. So that's the first one. The second one is the one that we disapproved. This one is called is 275 Park Avenue, Body by Brooklyn. Let me see if I can best describe where this is particularly located on Park Avenue. It appears to be down. This is like down near the underside of the BQE between Washington Avenue and Waverly Avenue, and I would describe the area as a somewhat commercial block, with obviously you got the BQE up above, but you know, street level you've got commercial businesses, and then this particular building is several stories tall and has a bunch of residences in it. And we had received several community complaints before this meeting. This is a health club. Again, it's called Body by Brooklyn, and I guess it's a spa which operates by serving by serving wine and beer, and the application is for a full liquor license. There's a presentation. There was a member of the residential buildings tenant association there with us, who came there representing the tenants, and a number of written complaints that we received in advance. What seems not to be in any dispute whatsoever is that there were 2 fires at this location very late at night on November 15th, and the second one was in January at like 1:30 in the morning. The license is a transfer, so the application is being transferred from an owner to an individual who said he's a manager at this club. We had a number of points of discussion in the committee about whether or not they were serving wine or alcohol there currently, and the applicant represented that they were not, but there was some evidence found on their website that they were. And actually, after the committee meeting, I found a Yelp review indicating that there was some further evidence of folks that were engaged in drinking at the establishment. The residents also complained about really loud late night parties and smoking in front of the location, as well as the fact that apparently when the fires occurred, and there was also apparently a flood in addition to the fires, that the fire alarm didn't go off, and the resident said there was a note that the fire alarms weren't functioning in the location. The applicant said the fire alarms were functioning. There was a bit of a he said in that respect, but there were a few points that were kind of like that too. The applicant said that the fires were because of dryers, where you're at a gym, you got the towels, you got to dry the towels there at the gym, and that this process had caused the fires, and that they were going to take some steps to try to cut down on that that risk in the future. The residents were very concerned about this, and additionally, there were several questions we posed as a committee to the applicants about what they plan to do. And looking at the application, they're only going to use security cameras. They're not going to have any security present there at this location. And there didn't seem to be really a sign of willingness to engage with the residents. It seemed like the applicants had just sort of emailed the building manager ahead of time, and with the number of complaints that existed for this place, it really seemed to be a risk that we would approve this application, given what we knew, even acknowledging that there were some points of factual dispute between the applicants and the residents. So all things considered, after hearing this, we had some committee discussion, and a motion was raised to disapprove the application. The motion was approved by a margin of 6-0 to 2 abstentions. I don't want to completely speak for the 2 abstentions, but I believe they kind of felt like it was a bit of a he said, she said kind of situation more so, and that may have fed into why they abstained. But that was the vote on that particular application. Now I'll be happy to take questions when I'm done, but if I can just go forward and do the third liquor license that we reviewed. This one is 270 Vanderbilt Avenue. 270 Vanderbilt Avenue is located, it's down like near the corner, Vanderbilt and DeKalb, on the Vanderbilt side. And it's sort of like you got a residential block of brownstones, and almost right at the end of the block, before you get to DeKalb, you've got, this is south of DeKalb, you've got this location. It's going to be called Brooklyn Hero Shop. It's going to be open from 9 a.m. to 12 a.m. On Monday to Saturday, and 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. on Sunday. The owner explained it to be a sandwich / coffee / retail market shop. They plan to open in 10 days. They'll have 5 to 10 employees to start. The owner's done a lot of community work there, and they're going to also have an outdoor space during the we're at a point in the COVID times now where applicants are able to have outdoor seating at like in the curbside area in front of the location. So they're going to have a number of tables out there in front of the location. So the applicant indicated they've spoken with the neighbors. The neighbors are very happy to have a place that will be open, serving coffee and local products. That was really sort of the theme for this. And the applicant's also launching a website that will allow folks to donate to hospitals and doctors through his business. So it was a very pleasant discussion we had there, and we approved that application by a margin of 8-0-0. I didn't mention before, but the first 2 applications, no outdoor seating. So I just want to make sure that is noted. Otherwise, I'm happy to take any questions from the committee.
Barbara?
In terms of this 275 Park Avenue, if we vote against the full liquor license, will they still have the wine and beer license?
So I think what we have here is an application to transfer. And I think what's notable about that is that you have the existing applicant who has the wine and beer license, who is transferring this to the current manager of the location. The existing holders of the application, I would imagine, would stay the current holders of the application if we vote against this, and it goes up to the state liquor authority for review, and state liquor authority has the prerogative to take our application and our decision into consideration, make a more final decision. But the state liquor authority can also take a look at the facts and circumstances and decide whether there's anything to investigate further in terms of a violation on the existing license.
So will we, if we vote against it, will there be any language that goes with it?
I think in terms of how generally the language that goes with any letter that we write to the state liquor authority, the board office puts a pretty fair effort towards capturing the committee's concern about any one of these applications. We've actually seen this on several occasions in the past where these things where applicants come back for renewal and there are issues, or there's community concerns that come up. If there's something that anyone feels really particular about noting, there have been times in the past where we've stated something, very equivocally on the application. But I think in this circumstance, it was pretty clear from the committee's discussion that the reasoning related to concerns about the fire, about the representations about alcohol, no alcohol, about the concerns about the safety of the building and the engagement with the local residents. So there were a few things to note there, but if there's anything else that anybody feels particular about, I think I'm
I mean,
happy to
I'm
hear it.
wondering if there's concern that they should even keep having the wine and beer license with all these things going on. That's all I'm saying.
It's a fair point. I mean, to the degree that we want to add that point to our application, then I would encourage the person who raised any motion to add that to the motion.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
All right, so hearing none, what I'd like to do, Brendan, is take each of these one by one. So we'll do a motion for each of these one by one, and that way we don't have to worry about any confusion. So let's start with the first. I'll entertain a motion to accept the committee's recommendation for 63 Lafayette Avenue. Ms. Fibush, second, Mr. Jordan. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, show by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? All right, unanimous. Jessica, you got that?
Yep.
Okay. The next will be 270 Vanderbilt Avenue. I'll accept a motion to accept the committee's recommendation. Mr. Jordan, second, Ms. Zeller-Granger. Is there any discussion on the motion?
This is Dorothea. I have a question. I saw something flash on the screen saying that this was going to be owned by Graziella's. Did I see that or did I not see that? I was just curious because they have,
That's the next application.
Excuse me?
That's for 270 Vanderbilt.
I think we're on Vanderbilt.
But I thought,
Yeah, that's what I called.
Oh, sorry. Then yeah, it is the same
That's cool.
person.
Oh,
okay.
I thought
No,
we were
I
doing
just
number
asked
two.
because I thought I saw it fly across the screen. So the owners of Graziella's are the one that's going to be owning the Hero shop. Just
Yep.
a question. Thank
No,
you.
that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I thought we were voting on number two because that was the second one.
So I said 270 Vanderbilt.
Okay, sorry.
Does that change your vote?
No,
Because we didn't vote yet. Do you have any discussion on the motion?
no.
Okay. Therefore, hearing no further discussion, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, great. Another unanimous one. Now we're voting on 275 Park Avenue. I'll entertain a motion to accept the committee's recommendation. Ms. Julia Cullen Chung, second. Mr. Gordon. Is there any discussion on the motion? Barbara.
I'd like to make a friendly amendment, move for a friendly amendment that we add language recommending, just bringing to the liquor authority's attention that even if this is denied, they will still have a wine and beer license in light of the other problems that have been shown here.
But Barbara, you're not suggesting that it be revoked.
I'm just saying that the board should consider it.
Hi, can I say
Just
something?
bringing it to the board's attention.
Can I say something, please?
Carol Ann, is that you?
Yes, that's me.
Sure, go ahead.
So it's a transfer. But a transfer doesn't move from person to person. It's only considered a transfer because it's an existing business which someone is now purchasing. So if the new owner, so the license will not move to the new owner automatically. They have to apply on their own recognizance for a license.
Okay, So I withdraw my friendly amendment motion. Thank you, Carol Ann.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the committee's recommendation? Any abstentions? I'm sorry, anybody against the motion? Any abstentions? Okay, great. Mr. Smith, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up to report land use, Mr. Gordon.
We actually, I'm sorry, Lenny, had two renewals. And I just want to note that I think one was mistakenly noted as being disapproved by the committee, 60 Furman Street, but it was actually approved. But that's still within the HES committee.
I'm glad you caught. So wait, let me just back up on that. We have a vote to reject 602. That should be to accept?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, 602. The two abstentions were the two of us, Brandon and me. So.
All right, perfect. Noted. Thank you. Mr. Gordon, back to you.
Okay, thank you. Everybody can hear me? Great.
Yes.
Okay. All right. First one is 176 Washington Park in the Fort Greene Historic District. The applications for full restoration of the existing building with a new roof, top stair, bulkhead, roof railing, and new rear yard, an additional entrance at the Willoughby Avenue facade. All right, now this one, let me give a little more explanation because the description doesn't really give a full picture as to what's going on. We did approve portions of it, and let's get into that later. But I still think to understand what's going on, I have to take a couple of minutes just to explain the situation at this site. 176 Washington Park is actually two structures. It's located at the corner of Washington Park and Willoughby Avenue. The main structure, and looking at it from the Google Maps, you think of it as just one building. And I got fooled by that also, because what you have to also be aware of as you go east, you walk east very briefly along Willoughby Avenue. There's a second structure that's also a part of the current address or block and lot. And it's yeah, kind of, sort of. The second structure is actually a little garage, one-car garage that's deteriorating. So that's part of the full picture as to what this application is for. Now, I'll refer back to the larger building that's on Washington Park corner building and Willoughby Avenue. It's a 5-story building. It's been there for more than about over a century. It's about 5 stories high, and no one is currently occupying the premises. And of course, no one's in the garage, except from what I hear, some stray cats, sadly. The plans are essentially to really rehabilitate, and to restore this, the main building at Washington Park, Willoughby Avenue. New windows, roof, and roof work, exterior, throughout the entire premises. And it'll be also good because we'll have, since it's 5 stories, each story will be a separate unit, and it'll be sort of like close to a multiple dwelling, so people will be able to rent it. So that a lot of the work has been proposed is going to be good. They gave us a very good layout of the proposed, not only the proposed work, but even the materials that are going to be used. It'll be nicely done. It's going to reflect well on the, on the block and the community, and it will restore and get this building back into shape. And we liked what we saw, and it'll also do some roof work up there. It'll provide some, use for the roof up, so people will be able to enjoy who live in the building as well. That's the part that we liked. Now, as I said, again, going east along Willoughby Avenue, we hit to the garage. The garage is dilapidated and it's not in use. And I've been told that it's being occupied by stray cats. The garage, yes, you can see it right there. And that's going to be torn down, which we had no problem with. The proposal, however, did come up with a problem. Now, I'll say in preface, when a new structure is being placed or being built in a historic district, the new structure can be a modern structure. And we don't necessarily require that a new structure being placed in a historic district be totally reflective of an old style of construction or appearance. And the proposed new building, the second building, which would replace the garage, and as you see it there, was a very modernistic structure. Again, we don't oppose normally a modern structure going into a historic district. However, the committee felt very I would say they were not happy. The committee was not happy with the design, that it just appeared to be too out of place, even though it's a new modern structure. Too many geometric, I would say, the way it was too many, it was just not a one that would fit in that particular place. So what we decided was that the motion was a little complex, but we did decide to approve the work in the main building over at the corner of Washington Park and Willoughby Avenue. We had no problem with that, and we liked it. But our motion also rejected the newer structure. Again, we felt that this just didn't fit in that particular place, and the motion was approved 8-2. Now, can I move on, or do you want to take any questions or?
Move on, Carlton. We'll come
I'll
back to
move
that.
on. Okay.
Please.
Thank you. The second item is 410 to 412 Waverly Avenue in the Clinton Hill Historic District. And the application is to restore the facade to the existing building with new windows, doors, and a rooftop addition. Now, this one was actually granted by our committee and the board back in 2014. It was, we liked it enough and we felt comfortable enough with it then. However, the applicant had financial problems with the contractors and finances. So by the time they finally got ready to begin work, and they wanted to begin, in the last, few months, the permit that resulted from our previous affirmative vote expired. So they have to start all over again. And we asked, is there any change between what we decided back in 2014 and what we decided now? They said no. So we decided unanimously 10-0 for them to go with this one and to get their permit to do the work necessary for this location. Now, the third item, actually, I don't know if you have it. The third item that we have is a request from the committee to ask the board, it's actually a letter from the board office, and to ask the executive committee to approve a letter to be sent regarding the Underground Railroad location that we've discussed in the past over on Duffield Street, 227 Duffield Street. Some of you may remember that years ago, the people who have been fighting to preserve the Underground Railroad location on Duffield Street have applied and gone to the Landmark Preservation Commission to be declared a landmark to protect the site.
Carlton,
Yes,
can I interrupt you for 1 second?
go ahead, yeah.
According to my agenda, I'm still waiting to hear from 72 Dowling Street.
72 Dowling Street was not done. The owners, even though it was listed, the owners, it was not brought to us. There was no one presenting to us. I think Carol Ann had said that they were not ready to proceed. So nothing happened on 72 Downing Street.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this particular, so the request that you were speaking about before I interrupted you,
Yeah,
that's not on here, and that is 227 Duffield Street?
Duffield Street, right, yes. It's actually,
All right.
okay, we're asking the executive committee to approve that, have the board send another letter of support for that application, for the landmarks preservation application. What it is that we've already backed up the efforts of the community along Duffield Street, people, activists who want to keep this place alive because it is a site of the Underground Railroad. In fact, it was in the January, if those of you might be interested, in the January 10th real estate section of the Sunday New York Times, we'll see an article and a picture of the site as well. And I have it here in front of me in case you want to show, in case you want to see it. But we asked the committee to send another letter of support to the Landmarks Preservation Commission. Right now, at this time, the Landmarks Preservation Commission still has not ruled on whether or not they want to declare this a landmark. We previously indicated our favorable position on this, and we asked again, just to remind the Landmark Preservation Commission that Brooklyn Community Board 2 still supports having a landmark being declared at 227 Duffield Street. Those are my three items.
All right, thank you, Carlton. Let's take each one of these separately, just because I want to be able to track everything that's going down and then for better record keeping with the secretary. So the first item is I'll accept committee's recommendation for I'll entertain a motion to accept the committee's recommendation for 176 Washington Park. Mr. Jordan, second.
All right.
Mr. Gordon. So motion by Mr. Jordan, second by Mr. Gordon. Is there any discussion on the motion? Barbara?
Was the committee against that whole addition or just what's behind, were they okay with the front of it, but didn't like what was behind it, or just didn't like the whole thing?
You're talking about the second building, right?
Yeah.
The little building, the little proposed little building. Okay, yes, the committee did not like the design of the proposed smaller building, the secondary building.
Even the front of it, that would be.
They didn't like it at all.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Jessica?
Yeah, Carlton, what is that back building supposed to be for? Like in their proposal, what did they say? Would there be more apartment units?
It'll be more residential units.
Okay, and then so what y'all have suggested approving is what will be approved? Does that stop at that new massing that is right now uncovered, but would be new massing on the schematic?
Yeah,
okay.
What we've approved was the work to be done for the main building, the bigger 5-story building. We liked it. We approved it.
Right. But no massing between the two. That would be considered part of the secondary building.
Well, what we did not approve was the looks and the design for the second building. If they come back with something else, that's a possibility. But right now, we did not approve the second little building in its entirety.
Do you need to clarify whether that massing connecting the buildings would be approved, or is that considered part of the second building?
We just want to let the LPC to know that the first one is fine. The second one we don't think works. That's the easy way to put it.
Okay. Thanks.
Is there any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to accept the committee's recommendation?
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Next item for action, 410-12 Waverly Avenue. I'll entertain a motion to accept the committee's recommendation.
Motion to accept. Bill Flournoy.
Second.
Second.
Ms. Freibush. Motion accepted. Motion by Mr. Flournoy. Second, Ms. Freibush. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Now, Carlton, I need to talk this through before I move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to use this in my own language. Essentially, the committee is asking the board to reaffirm its letter of recommendation in support of keeping 227 Duffield intact, in support of the historical value of the Underground Railroad.
It's yes, basically it's an Underground Railroad site, and we wish to have it be declared. And right now, it's before the Landmarks Preservation Commission for designation as a landmark. We support that. Well, I mean, we did support it in the past, and we would like the board to send another letter to say we still support that.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to accept the committee's recommendation. Ms. Freibush, can I get a second?
One second.
Second. Okay.
Take it, Bill.
Second by Julia Cullen Chung. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We're up to item number 7, committees to report. First up is Economic Development and Employment.
Bill Flinoy, I apologize for the fact that I don't have a video. The virus that went around for computers knocked my computer out, so I have to do this by cell. And unfortunately, I can't do video and audio at the same time. Okay, my report. Okay, we met on the first Tuesday of the month, and we actually discussed the going forward, the agenda for the Economic Development Committee as it applies to the COVID reopening for small businesses and also for employment situations. Based on that, the agenda was decided by the committee, and the first item on the agenda that we're going to act on February 2nd is we're going to have the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce come to our committee and speak, and also the Small Business Administration, the Women's Business Center also come to our committee to speak. We're also going to address take a look at the street vendor letter, okay, that the Speaker Johnson submitted. So we're going to take a look at that also and make comments to that. And perhaps if there's any action we should suggest, we'll bring it to the board. That's my report.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions for the chair? Great. Next committee to report, Parks and Recreation.
Good evening. I did give a very comprehensive report on our meeting at the general meeting. So just to highlight the meeting briefly, we had a presentation from the Brooklyn Greenway Initiative, focusing particularly on the Naval Cemetery Landscape Project and all that entails. There's a lot of a number of native species there. They're working very hard. Both the Greenway around Brooklyn and the Naval Cemetery have seen an upsurge during 2020 of people visiting. As you might expect, people want to be outside as much as they can. We had a proposal for redoing a restroom at the Fort Greene Playground, and then we had a discussion about the Willoughby Square Open Space Project and a presentation from the artist who has been engaged to do the artwork there. It's going to take place at 5 or 6 different locations within Willoughby Square, and the artist is very impressive, and she deals with words, so there will be a variety of words. She likes to reach out to the community to get feedback and also look at historic books and records to come up with those words for the park. And we're meeting again on February 4th with YECA to revisit the Columbus statue issue, and we'll have our regular meeting on February 8th where we have a jam-packed agenda including local gardens and an update on a proposal for a special event by Playgrounds NYC.
And for those who weren't aware, that report was given by Barbara Zeller Gringer. She is the chair of the Parks and Recreation Committee. Any questions for Barbara?
Thank you, Lenny. Sorry about that. Jessica?
Barbara. So I feel like I saw something about some criticism around the art that's been selected for Willoughby Square, and I'm curious if we've gotten any of that to the board office or if you've heard any directed at your committee.
Well, I don't think it's been, it hasn't been designed yet.
Okay.
So it's going to be stone, and the words are going to be engraved in stone, and they did not have any. She's just beginning the process for getting feedback and looking. These are some of the things she's done before. She had an exhibit at the Brooklyn Museum, and
I don't have a concern with it, but there was
Right.
a Brooklyn paper article about people being concerned about the art in one way or another. So I guess I'm just curious if we've received any feedback to the board office or anything.
Well, there hasn't been any proposal yet as to what the words would be or the quotes. So unless there's just people are just objecting to the art being composed of words itself, I don't know of any, nothing has been brought to my attention in terms of, concern. We're hoping they will come back to us when they have the artwork, when they know what they're planning to do and where they're going to put the art, to come back to us with an update.
Got it. Thanks.
Thanks for the question.
Sure.
I want to introduce my co-chair, Andrew Laskowecki. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Sure.
Next committee to report, Transportation and Public Safety.
Hi, I'm Juliet Cullen-Chung, Chair of Transportation and Public Safety Committee. And Cheryl? I think Cheryl is trying to unmute.
Hi, Cheryl Galbs, Vice Chair.
Thanks, Cheryl. I actually should have expressed this earlier, but we did have a motion that passed in our committee, so this may or may not be an action item at the chair's discretion, but I'll review it and then Chair Singletary can let us know whether that it should be voted on. Just to give you some background about the meeting, the primary purpose of the meeting was supposed to be to hear from the DOT borough planner about a long list of questions that we submitted about a month in advance of the meeting. And we had done this in prior years. We submit questions in advance, they research it, and they come to our meeting and answer as many questions as they can. That didn't happen in this meeting, but I'll get into that later. There were two other presenters that came to the meeting. DOT pedestrian unit came to present to us about proposed signage, wayfinding signage for the entrance of the Brooklyn Bridge at Tillery, the pedestrian entrance to the Brooklyn Bridge. They proposed a 12-foot wide blade sign made of aluminum that is either black with laser cut letters or wrapped with black and white vinyl wrap. And that was the motion that we elected to approve 10-01 with some conditions that we preferred the options that had the best nighttime visibility, and that they consider arrangements for lighting, and that they also consider some perpendicular blade signs to Tillery Street. The second presenter were a group of officers from the 88th precinct, and they came to talk to us about what they were working on, what they found as security concerns in their sectors of the 88th, and also were able to listen to us with regards to how our committee feels about certain of those security concerns. And then finally, to get back to what I had mentioned at the beginning of this discussion, the Brooklyn Borough Planner of DOT, I think, just forgot to find answers to those questions and did not have any answers at all. Carol Ann outlined the history, and definitely these questions were sent in advance, and there was just nothing there. So, this goes back to our longstanding, not very positive relationship with DOT, frankly, from our committee since the departure of Chris Rones. We have had multiple replacements for him as a coordinator, but none have really had the expertise really to be really be able to answer our questions. And I think Emily is going to do what she can. She was very apologetic, and she's going to follow up with the various committees and try to get us the answers by next month. But it was quite disappointing. So I know that maybe a year ago, a letter was sent to Keith Bray trying to get a liaison. but it's really a deteriorating situation. We also requested specifically a meeting on the BQE, separate from all of the little, give us an update on DeKalb, like, not little, but, not as big as the BQE. The commission, the BQE commission came out with its report in January 2020. Now, yes, we've had a pandemic. We've had a lot of other issues that have taken up the forefront of our, conversations, but we've had zero communications about the BQE, and it's been a year, and the BQE is deteriorating as well. So, Polly Trottenberg, who is the commissioner of DOT, is now the deputy, I'm not sure if I have the title exactly right, but the deputy secretary under Pete Buttigieg for the Federal Department of Transportation. So that bodes well for resources to New York City, but potentially that doesn't bode very well for the rollout of whatever plan, whether it's going to come from the city or the state, to fix the BQE. In 5 years, the BQE will, in 2026, yes, in 5 years, the BQE will not be able to operate as it currently is operating without restrictions, which may mean rerouting of all trucks from the BQE and into our neighborhoods. So it's an issue that we would like to be updated on. So that's it. Thank you.
So Juliet, I'm not sure if there's anything that I feel we need to vote on now based on your comments, but if you would, can we set aside some time where perhaps you, me, and Cheryl can have a discussion, and then let's see if we can chart out collectively a path forward. It's disappointing to hear the feedback and how the committee's time wasn't efficiently used. And so I want to put our minds together collectively, put a process in place, and let's see how we can improve the process. One, two, more importantly, get answers to the questions that were raised by the committee. I haven't had the privilege of meeting Emily, but the feedback I get is that it's not for lack of effort. It's really not having the insight and the intellectual knowledge to be a direct resource to the committee in a way that we would desire, in a way that the process was originally set up. So let's take that offline and let's see what we can do to get that process better.
Thank you, Chair Singletary.
And can I ask Carol Ann, if you could just help me coordinate some time with the chairs and co-chair of the Transportation and Public Safety Committee so we can get that done, please.
Sure, will do.
Okay. Mr. Jordan?
Hi, thank you, Ms. Cullen-Chung, for your report. I just had one question. When you talked about the signage on Tillery Street near the Brooklyn Bridge, does DOT, I think you said the pedestrian the section, do they reach out to any of the residences or the residential buildings in the area just to let them know what's coming and what their maybe some concerns that they may have? I guess I'm talking about specifically Concord Village, but there are a few other buildings that have been new buildings that have come up in that area also.
It was not on this particular topic. They did not.
Okay. Do they normally do that, or?
They don't. Actually, in a previous committee meeting, we invited Concord Village to come to a presentation of DOT because DOT had not reached out to them. Mm-hmm. And that had to, it may have been NYPD actually. There were some security updates to the bridge that NYPD was making. But for this, they actually told us that they don't need a motion from us, but we made a motion anyway. So I'm not sure how much wider outreach they're doing.
Thank you.
Mr. Gordon?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to tell Juliet from yesterday's Daily News, page 33, there's an op-ed by Ross Sandler who was transportation commissioner from 1986 to 1991, who also, and the title of it is New York's BQE Emergency, pretty much lays out the concerns that Juliet has addressed, and you might want to have that as well, or go through that as part of your effort to say, yes, there's a transportation commissioner who backs you up on that one. So you might want to try to get a hold of it, I guess probably online. I have it right here as well also. And take a look at it and use it as for support.
Thanks, Carlton.
Okay.
Thank you, Juliet. Oh, I'm sorry, Bill.
Juliet, I also heard word the only development I've heard on the BQE, the cantilever, is that they're looking to restrict the weight of trucks going across the cantilever. That's the only thing I've heard.
Yes, they have done that. Yes, and they've sent people out who are experts at seeing how low trucks ride so that they can get those trucks off the BQE and find them.
Thank you, Juliet. Next committee to report, Youth Education and Cultural Affairs.
Hello, I'm Betty Freibush, and my co-chair, Dorothea. Can you introduce yourself? Is she here? Oh, she left the meeting. Okay, Dorothea Thompson-Manning is my co-chair. Okay, so we haven't had any committee meetings since last I reported, but I did want to report that I was invited along with Taya from the district office to attend a meeting of Brooklyn Community Boards with Brooklyn DOE school superintendents. And the purpose was they wanted us to align so that each of us in our community districts would know who the superintendents were of the requisite geographical area. Now we're on this. I mean, we've been inviting people and in dialogue for many years. So that was not one of our issues. Some people met for the first time. Okay, but they presented all the things that the DOE is doing in terms of digital curriculum, devices, middle school and high school admissions. And it just becomes so apparent. I mean, we know this, but our news media is reporting that children, especially in homeless shelters and in other situations, don't have access to either devices or hotspots. But the DOE said if you know a student who needs a device, contact the school, and if that is not helpful, then contact the district office, the superintendent, or even through us, we could get that message across. So there seems to be a disconnect. Then we were introduced in numerical order. So I was glad I was CB2 and not CB 14 or 16 because they didn't have their voices heard. CB1 felt that the information that the DOE was explaining was not accurate, and the representative from CB1 was very angry. So that was that interaction. Then I spoke and I asked several questions. Initially with the COVID, we were promised that children of essential workers who didn't have childcare would be able to access care for their child in a school that would be a longer school day. It would also be socially distant, meals, etc. And I asked that and did not get an answer. I also expressed a concern about attendance. How are they following up on the most vulnerable students? Because we know that unfortunately there are students that have abuse and neglect and students who unfortunately are trafficked. So again, there was not an answer. So several of the superintendents are coming to our next Yucca meeting, which is this Wednesday at 6 o'clock. And I really urge people to come. and ask either these questions or some of your own questions to the superintendents, because they have expressed an interest and a desire to what they call align with the community boards. And the last item that came up that maybe our board would like to work on or collaborate on, one of the superintendents mentioned an anti-gun violence program in the high schools. So whether it would be our committee or public safety, I'm not really sure, but I think we should hear more about it, because we are concerned about gun violence and actually what the schools are doing in terms of working with the young people in that. So that is my report.
Thank you, Betty. Any questions for Betty? Bill?
Well, Betty, I was just kind of curious. I heard word that currently right now in New York City, I think they said 15,000 children have not even registered during the entire school year.
Yes, it's something like that. I mean, we read things like that on the media. I don't know if it's 15,000 or the exact number, but yes, there are a lot of children. I don't think the word is registered, haven't logged on to a device. So
Yeah,
we don't logged on to a device. So we don't know, maybe they're home and doing other things. Maybe they moved, maybe something awful is happening with the child. We really don't know. And my question was, like in the past, they would send attendance teachers out to physically, see a child, see that they're okay, and offer support to families. So I'm not sure. I did not get an answer if attendance teachers are going out, if they're calling child welfare to find some children. And we know some people might not be logging on to devices simply because they don't have a device, they don't know, and all of the information that's given says parents must have a New York City schools account. But if you don't know to have an account and you don't have a device or a hotspot, it seems that there are a lot of people out there who are not being served the way they need to be. So come to my meeting and ask more questions, That's my recommendation.
Thank you, Betty.
Thank you.
We're up to item number 8, other committee business. Is there any other committee business? Ms. Julia Cullen-Chung.
Thank you. I'm sorry I neglected to bring up one more motion that Carol Ann reminded me of. There was discussion in our other business section in our Transportation Public Safety Committee about the Open Streets program. And that's where they block off certain streets so that people can run or jog or play in it. The barriers, though, are usually put up in partnership with local community members, neighbors, business owners, organizations, and when that doesn't happen, NYPD. The Open Streets program is not just a summertime program. It's still in effect right now. And what's happening is that it's a little bit deteriorating, and the neighbors aren't putting the barriers back. The barriers are kind of falling apart. So cars are going through the supposed open streets. So one of our committee members made a motion to send a letter to DOT, asking DOT to look at ways to make open streets function better on their own without such dependence on these community partners. He didn't want to specify a particular design, but did propose some ways that could be feasible to make open streets function better with improved design. So that was approved by the committee 8-1.
Okay, thank you. Any other business for other committee business?
I have 2 things. It might not be under this section, but maybe another section. But I'd like to know or understand or advocate that we have a voice in some of the planning now around Governor's Island, because even though it isn't in our CB2, for example, Brooklyn CB6 has made some resolutions and advocacy around the ferry that they wanted to continue in Red Hook. So since we used to have the ferry, for example, downtown by Pier 6 that would go to the Governor's Island on the weekend, maybe that's something we should opine on. And I know I also have parents from the Harbor School on Governor's Island coming to the committee on Wednesday to talk about some support that they need. So I want to understand, even though we're not geographic, we do have a relationship. And my other question is about the Gowanus rezoning, which is coming up shortly. That's a very big deal. We have a little tip of Gowanus in our CB2 district. So I'd like to know how we're watching what happens and how we're participating.
So, Betty, it's my understanding, at least I've always been under the belief that a portion of Governor's Island does sit under CB2. I mean, as a matter of fact, Mr. Paris used to sit on the committee for Governor's Island. So I'm not sure that the statement that it doesn't fall under CB2 is 100% correct. But
it's zoned as a Manhattan entity, but there is a relationship. And he had told me that he sat on a committee kind of as a friend or related group, but the actual, like all the ULURPs and things like that, it's considered Manhattan. That's my understanding. I mean,
but they also, to jump in, is that they did, because they were coming to us at one point over at Landmark Land Use for Governor's Island. We sometimes will waive it if we get really heavy ULURPs and other heavy hearings, because those take priority. But technically, yes, we have Landmark Land Use at CB2 also has a foot in the door for Governor's Island.
That's good to hear. So I'm just giving everyone a heads up that some parents will be coming about some issues that are related to the rezoning, and the school that supports, of all the 5 boroughs, it's mostly Brooklyn young people that go to the school. So
that's the Harbor School, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Also, on the other thing you mentioned, the Gowanus, that's also supposed to be coming to us.
Do me a favor. Hold on for Gowanus
I'm finished.
for a second.
Yeah.
No. I'm not saying you need to finish. I just want to make sure we're all clear on the first topic that Betty mentioned around Governor's Island, because we do have some bit of a voice. Let's use it that way.
Yes.
And so we do have a mechanism that will allow us to get information back. I do know
we do have
the Harbor School has presented to CB2, and so has representatives from the Governor's Island. So I think we do have some level of a connection there, and we can continue to foster receiving information. I see a whole host of hands going up, and so let me just say this: you can put your hand down because I don't want it to fall off. And let me start with Carol Ann first, then Bill Flanoy, then Barbara.
Hi, I just wanted to pop in to say that the ULURP for Governor's Island was completed. I really don't know the details, but within the resolution from Manhattan CB1, it notes that CB2 Brooklyn was unable to respond to the ULURP because of the lack of time provided with the notification from city planning. So we could invite them, I guess, but we may not be able to have any impact on the resolution since the ULURP is already completed.
Thank you, Caroline.
Welcome.
Yes, when Governor's Island first initially opened up, we were actually invited to actually have input at Governor's Island during a work session, Committee Board 2. I was actually there at the time. What the final decision was CB1 would actually handle everything. And I believe last month I mentioned the ULURP currently. And unfortunately, it wasn't a situation that we could bring in front of the Economic Development and Employment Committee before the actual ULURP expired. Okay, but we were made aware of it. We just didn't have time to actually act on it and then actually also have a vote.
Barbara?
Done.
Thank
Barbara.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Taya, maybe you can help me out here, but I believe someone from Governor's Island is coming to the Parks Committee in May, but I forget for a specific reason. I don't remember what it is. Would you recall?
Hello, yes, that's correct. In May, Sarah Crowtham is the VP of Public Affairs for the Trust for Governor's Island, requested to provide the Parks Committee with updates on the next phase of the island's growth and the 2021 season. They specifically requested May.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's all good to know. I appreciate all of that information. Apparently at this time, between the ULURP and the budget process, I was told that there's a small opportunity for the different groups to advocate that the Harbor School receive either part or all of one of the historic buildings for the purpose of classrooms and a swimming pool. And the swimming pool is most necessary because you'll hear from me more about it, but it's a maritime school and there are jobs in the waterfront once students graduate. I mean, it's a wonderful economic development opportunity. But so people will be talking to us on Wednesday, and we might be asking for a letter of support for some of the initiatives at the next full meeting in February.
So Betty, let me make a recommendation, and then we'll move on to the question you asked about the iguanas. Given the many moving parts and the different touch points that could affect the various committees of CB2, my recommendation is to whomever you're conversing with, have them work through the board office for several reasons. One, it gives us the opportunity to efficiently follow whatever concerns may be and provide accurate information and not lose anything in the translation. And then furthermore, if there are different aspects of the conversation that reach out to other committees, such as jobs, that's not all falling on the lap of youth education and cultural affairs. Every committee can appropriately participate in the dialogue.
I appreciate that. My contact at the Harbor School did reach out to the board office.
Okay, and I'll
reinforce it when she comes on.
Let's just reinforce that. That's all. Okay.
Now,
I appreciate that. What was your second point about the Gowanus Canal?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was your second?
Do we go to any meetings officially? Do we have somebody that's kind of watching the process and reporting back? Because even though Mr. Perez mentioned we just have a little tip of a few blocks in our CB2, a lot of the issues, such as, for example, sewage and other things, electricity, that affects neighboring districts as well.
Yes, I'm not aware that we have consistent or substantial representation that goes that far into Gowanus Canal, given the proximity of what small footprint it has within CB2. But I'll defer to Carol Ann as our district manager to give us some information there if she has it, or Taya. All right, so I'm going to take that silence as we don't have anything for you right now, Betty. So that's the answer to that question.
Apologies, I was checking the list. Correct. We are not currently affiliated with any Gowanus groups.
Right.
So I guess my question is, should there be someone on the board or in the district office who kind of follows it the way that Mr. Smith follows the Atlantic Yards, et cetera?
Well, that's different because Atlantic Yards, we actually have a full position in that.
Mhm.
So I get where you're going with that point about even if it's not official, just something that's a close touch point. Let me take that offline. Let me talk to the office, and we'll see if we can come up with at least create a mechanism for more information funneling to the entire board.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other committee business? Okay, item number 9, community forum. Are there any non-committee members of the exec committee that have any comments or any items that they want to raise at this time? If so, this would be the time, and you have 2 minutes to speak.
Sheriff Singletary, I do not see any hands.
Yeah, I don't see any hands either. I don't hear anybody. So one last time, any non-committee or any non-board members that have anything that they'd like to say about? Right. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
participating.
Have a good night,
Take care.
everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye,
Good night.
everybody.